You're reading these words because something has shifted in your reality. Perhaps money arrived from an unexpected source, a stranger's transfer, an inexplicable windfall, an opportunity that defied logic. Perhaps you're standing at the precipice of such a moment, sensing the electromagnetic charge in the air before lightning strikes. Either way, your spirit recognizes divine timing, and Archangel Michael himself has orchestrated this convergence between your consciousness and this message. What you're about to understand will fundamentally alter how you receive, protect, and multiply the abundance flowing toward you. This isn't motivational rhetoric. This is spiritual law, enforced by celestial beings who understand frequencies most humans cannot perceive. The moment wealth materializes in your experience, you face a test more critical than the poverty that preceded it. That test isn't whether you'll spend wisely or invest intelligently. Those are secondary concerns. The primary test, the one determining whether abundance becomes permanent fixture or temporary visitor, is simple yet profound. Can you remain silent? Not the silence of shame or fear, not the suppression of joy, but the sacred, intentional, disciplined silence that ancient mystery schools recognized as the container within which volatile spiritual energy crystallizes into enduring material form. This silence is the difference between those who touch wealth briefly and those who embody it permanently. Let me take you deeper into wisdom. I've spent years studying across multiple dimensions of reality. The intersection where quantum physics validates ancient mysticism, where neuroscience confirms biblical principles, where the seen and unseen realms operate according to identical laws. In exploring what I call the 3 keys to a prosperous life, which I've detailed extensively in the trilogy available in the pinned comment below for those ready to go beyond surface understanding, the first key addresses this exact principle: the energetic architecture of manifestation and why premature revelation dismantles what hasn't fully solidified. But before we examine mechanisms, you must understand the stakes. When that unexpected transfer appeared in your account, whether $50 or $50,000, it wasn't random. The universe doesn't operate on chaos theory, despite what materialist science claims. Behind that stranger's impulse to send you money operated invisible currents, angelic guidance, karmic balancing, divine orchestration responding to prayers you spoke and tears you cried when no one watched. That person whose name you barely recognize was moved by forces they themselves don't comprehend. They felt compelled. Something whispered, "Send it now." That whisper wasn't their intuition alone. It was Michael's sword, cutting through the veil between dimensions, rearranging physical reality to match your spiritual elevation. You see, chosen one, you've been operating at a frequency most people never reach because they quit when exhaustion arrives. You didn't quit, you stayed. And that staying, that stubborn, irrational, faith-driven refusal to surrender when logic screamed surrender, created a vibrational signature the universe had no choice but to match. Your staying wasn't passive, it was active spiritual warfare. Every morning you got up despite depression, every bill you paid despite insufficient funds, every moment you chose faith over panic. Those weren't small acts, those were frequency broadcasts declaring, "I belong to abundance. Temporary circumstances don't define me." The cosmos heard. Now it responds. But here's where most people lose everything. The moment blessing arrives, their mouth opens. They call family, text friends, post on social media. "Look what just happened. Can you believe it?" Within hours, sometimes minutes, they've introduced dozens of consciousness fields, each carrying its own frequency, into the manifestation process, still completing its work. Aunt Sharon hears and thinks, "Why them and not me?" That thought, seemingly harmless, is actually an energetic projectile. It doesn't matter that Sharon smiles and says congratulations. Her subconscious jealousy emits a frequency that attaches to your blessing like a parasite, slowly draining the vitality from your manifestation. This isn't speculation. This is how energy operates. The Egyptians understood this so deeply they built their entire initiatory system around it. In the mystery schools of Kemet, students spent years in preparation before receiving higher teachings. Why? Because premature exposure to advanced knowledge dissipates that knowledge is power. The same principle governs wealth. When you receive abundance, you haven't fully integrated psychologically, spiritually, and energetically. Announcing it creates leakage. The blessing meant to transform your entire existence disperses across every consciousness field you connected it to through speech. Ancient Hebrew mystics practiced tzimtzum, divine contraction, the principle that God created the universe by withdrawing, by creating space through intentional absence. This wasn't theological abstraction. This was practical manifestation mechanics. They recognized that creation requires container. Emptiness isn't void, it's potential. Silence isn't absence of sound, it's presence of sacred space. When you receive wealth and speak nothing, you perform tzimtzum. You create the energetic vacuum where divine substance can fully materialize without interference from conflicting frequencies inhabiting other people's consciousness. Consider this from the biological perspective, because spirit always expresses through matter, and understanding the physical mechanism strengthens spiritual conviction. When unexpected good news arrives, your brain floods with dopamine, the neurotransmitter of reward and motivation. That dopamine surge feels euphoric, and naturally you want to share the feeling. But here's the trap. Neuroscience research from UCLA and Stanford demonstrates that when you verbalize achievement before completion, your brain experiences reward satisfaction prematurely. The dopamine release that should fuel sustained action to integrate and multiply the blessing instead dissipates through verbal expression. You get the neurochemical payoff from talking about it, which reduces motivation to do the actual work of embodying your new financial reality. Dr. Derek Sivers presented research at TED showing that people who announced goals publicly were significantly less likely to achieve them than those who kept goals private. Why? Because announcing goals satisfies the same reward circuits as achieving them. Your brain cannot distinguish between imagined success shared verbally and actual success achieved materially. When you tell people about the money that arrived, your nervous system treats that announcement as if you've already completed the transformation that money was meant to catalyze. The result: self-sabotage, unconscious spending, mysterious financial setbacks. Not because you're cursed, but because you short-circuited the neurological integration process by speaking too soon. Now let's examine the quantum mechanical reality underlying this spiritual law, because modern physics has finally caught up to what ancient mystics always knew. In quantum mechanics, the observer effect demonstrates that observation collapses wave functions, unlimited potential states, into single fixed realities. Before measurement, a particle exists in superposition, simultaneously holding all possible positions. The moment you observe it, possibility collapses into singular actuality. Your financial blessing operates identically. When it first arrives, it exists in quantum superposition. It could become down payment on your dream home, seed capital for your business, foundation for generational wealth, or it could evaporate through poor decisions. Multiple potential timelines coexist. When you announce the blessing, you introduce external observers, friends, family, social media followers, each carrying their own consciousness field with embedded beliefs about money, success, and deservedness. Their observation doesn't merely witness your blessing, it actively participates in collapsing its quantum potential. If your announcement reaches 20 people and 15 harbor subconscious scarcity beliefs, their collective observation, weighted toward lack, influences the probability wave organizing around your new reality. You've essentially invited 15 votes for scarcity into a quantum field that was crystallizing abundance. The universe must now reconcile conflicting frequencies, and the path of least resistance is returning you to the vibration most heavily represented in your environment. This is why Jesus, that master manifester who commanded elements and multiplied resources, repeatedly instructed people after healing, "Tell no one." Matthew 8:4, Mark 1:44, Luke 5:14. The pattern repeats. Why would divine healing require secrecy? Because healing isn't merely physical symptom removal, it's frequency transformation, cellular reprogramming, identity reconstruction. The healed person needed integration time where their cells could reorganize without external consciousness fields pulling them back toward old patterns. The leper cleansed needed to embody clean before facing a society that had energetically coded him as unclean for years. Premature exposure to old environmental frequencies could have reversed the healing. Your unexpected wealth is healing. It heals scarcity consciousness. It heals generational poverty patterns. It heals the belief that you're unworthy of receiving without earning through suffering. But like physical healing, it requires integration time. The money in your account is surface manifestation. The real transformation occurs beneath in your subconscious programming, your cellular memory, your energetic signature. That transformation needs protection from interfering frequencies while it completes its work. Silence provides that protection. History offers countless examples of this principle operating across cultures and centuries. King Solomon, considered the wisest and wealthiest man of his era, wrote in Ecclesiastes 3:7 that there is a time to keep silence and a time to speak. He understood timing as spiritual technology. His wealth didn't come from announcing every profitable venture. It came from moving in rhythm with divine timing, speaking only when speech amplified rather than dissipated power. Solomon's famous judgment with the two women claiming one baby demonstrated this wisdom. He suggested cutting the child in half, and truth revealed itself through silence and outcry. He didn't need to speak more. He created conditions where reality manifested accurately. The Tao Te Ching, ancient Chinese wisdom text attributed to Lao Tzu, teaches in chapter 56, "Those who know do not speak. Those who speak do not know." This isn't intellectual gatekeeping. This is energetic preservation. Lao Tzu recognized that true knowing operates at frequency levels beyond verbal expression. When you've genuinely integrated spiritual truth, you don't need to announce it. Your presence radiates it. When wealth arrives and you remain silent, that silence communicates more powerfully than any announcement. People sense shift in your energy before you utter a word. They feel your newfound stability, detect your quiet confidence, notice how desperation has left your field. Your silence speaks louder than your words ever could. Buddhist traditions emphasize right speech as part of the Noble Eightfold Path. Right speech isn't merely avoiding lies or harsh words. It includes knowing when speech serves dharma and when silence serves better. The Buddha himself spent long periods in noble silence, understanding that certain realizations cannot be transmitted verbally, they must be experienced directly. When your financial breakthrough arrives, you're having direct experience of abundance consciousness. Talking about it translates direct knowing into intellectual concept, diluting experiential power into mental abstraction. You move from being abundance to discussing abundance. That shift drops your frequency from embodiment level to conceptual level, and manifestation operates at embodiment level exclusively. Native American wisdom traditions practiced vision quests, where young people spent days alone, fasting and praying until receiving spiritual vision for their life path. When they returned to tribe, they didn't immediately share every detail. The medicine man might help interpret, but the vision itself remained largely private, a sacred trust between individual and Great Spirit. Why? Because premature sharing dissipates power. The vision needed to root deeply in the person's soul before withstanding scrutiny and interpretation from others. Your financial blessing is vision made manifest. It contains encoded information about your destiny, your purpose, the impact you're meant to make. Treat it with the same sacred privacy as Vision Quest revelation. Let's go deeper into the energetic mechanics, because understanding how this operates removes any temptation to violate the silence protocol. Everything in physical reality is energy vibrating at different frequencies. Thoughts are energy. Emotions are energy. Money is energy. Words are particularly potent energy carriers because they combine thought, emotion, and physical vibration through vocal cords. When you speak, you don't just communicate information, you broadcast frequency. Ancient Vedic tradition recognized this through mantra practice, understanding that specific sound vibrations create specific realities. Sanskrit mantras aren't merely meaningful words, they're frequency formulas, engineering consciousness shifts through precise vibrational patterns. When you announce, "I just received unexpected money," you're broadcasting that statement's frequency. But here's what most miss. That statement exists at probability frequency, not certainty frequency. It describes something that happened, but your subconscious doesn't yet believe it's permanent. Deep in your programming operates scarcity code. This won't last. Enjoy it while it's here. Don't get used to it. When your words broadcast, "I received money," while your subconscious transmits, "but it's temporary," you create frequency dissonance. The universe, which operates on frequency, not words, receives mixed signals. It reads uncertainty, which is creative instruction for impermanence. You've literally programmed your blessing to be temporary through the vibrational contradiction between what you said and what you believed as you said it. Silence eliminates this contradiction. When you say nothing, you give your subconscious time to catch up with your new reality. You allow cellular memory to reorganize. You permit your nervous system to recalibrate from survival mode to thriving mode. This recalibration doesn't happen instantly. Neuroscience indicates it takes approximately 66 days for new neural pathways to form and become automatic. Your brain's default mode network must restructure. Your amygdala must down-regulate threat response. Your prefrontal cortex must establish new decision-making patterns appropriate for abundance rather than scarcity. This neurological renovation requires time and protection from environmental stress triggers, including social pressure from people expecting you to maintain old patterns. The stranger who sent you money perceived something most people never recognize. They saw past your circumstances to your essence. They witnessed the light you carry despite darkness surrounding you. They recognized destiny temporarily obscured by difficulty. That recognition moved them to action, but not random action, divinely timed action. They appeared at the exact moment you were tired enough to receive without ego interference, but not so defeated that hopelessness blocked reception. This timing is surgical precision, orchestrated by intelligences operating beyond human comprehension. Archangel Michael specializes in this precision. His name means "who is like God," a rhetorical question, asserting that nothing in creation matches the divine. Michael doesn't operate like human helpers who offer assistance with strings attached or expectations of gratitude performances. Michael moves according to divine mathematics, exact timing, precise amounts, perfect positioning. When unexpected money arrives from unexpected sources, Michael's hand guided that transaction, not metaphorically, literally. Angels don't have limited bandwidth like humans. They operate across multiple dimensions simultaneously, influencing human impulses, arranging coincidences, ensuring divine will manifests in material realm. But Michael's work doesn't end with getting blessing to you. His primary function is protection, guarding what God has ordained. Daniel 10:13 identifies him as one of the chief princes who battles unseen forces trying to prevent divine messages from reaching intended recipients. Daniel had been praying for 3 weeks without answer. Then an angel appeared explaining Michael had been fighting the Prince of Persia, who opposed Daniel receiving revelation. This wasn't mythological metaphor. This was energetic warfare description. Negative frequencies actively resist positive manifestations. When blessing breaks through to you, hostile forces immediately mobilize to remove it. Michael stands guard, but you must cooperate with his protection protocols. The primary protocol is silence. Think of silence as fortress walls. When you announce blessing, you open the gates, inviting anyone to walk in, friend or foe, support or sabotage. Most people don't consciously wish you harm, but they carry energetic programming that automatically opposes your elevation. It's not personal. It's frequency mechanics. If someone operates at lack consciousness and you suddenly embody abundance consciousness, dissonance occurs. Their field attempts to pull you back to familiar frequency where relationship equilibrium existed. This happens subconsciously. Your friend genuinely believes they're being supportive when they say, "That's amazing, how will you spend it?" But that question introduces spending consciousness into what should remain accumulation consciousness. You hadn't thought about spending, you were absorbing the reality of receiving. Their innocent question redirected your focus from gratitude to consumption, from being to doing, from embodiment to dissipation. This is how blessings evaporate. Through thousands small leaks. Each person you tell creates another leak. They ask questions, planting doubt seeds. Are you sure it's legitimate? What if they want it back? Did you report it to the IRS? You should invest it. You should save it. You should help family. Every suggestion, no matter how well-intentioned, introduces external agenda into your divine process. God sent specific amount for specific purpose encoded into the blessing itself. Your job isn't collecting everyone's opinion. Your job is listening to divine instruction through silence, allowing intuitive guidance to emerge from stillness rather than seeking validation through consensus. Psychology confirms what spirituality teaches. External validation seeking undermines internal knowing. When you announce blessing, hoping for celebration, you've made other people's reactions more important than your own experience. You've given away authority over your reality. This creates dependency. You need their excitement to feel excited, their approval to feel deserving, their amazement to feel blessed. But excitement dependent on audience fades when audience leaves. True abundance consciousness doesn't require witnesses. It exists independently of external confirmation because it's rooted in spiritual identity, not circumstantial evidence. The Apostle Paul, who experienced dramatic transformation from persecutor to preacher, wrote in Galatians 1:16-17 that after his revelation on Damascus Road, he did not immediately consult with anyone, nor did I go up to Jerusalem to see those who were apostles before me, but I went into Arabia. Why Arabia? For silence, for integration, for allowing revolutionary new reality to reconstruct his entire identity without interference from old relationships wanting old Paul back. He spent 3 years in obscurity before beginning public ministry. 3 years might seem excessive, but Paul understood that credible testimony requires embodied transformation, not merely conceptual conversion. He needed to become the message before proclaiming it. You're in your Arabia right now. This silence period between receiving and revealing. this gap between manifestation and multiplication, this sacred space where old you dissolves and new you forms. Don't rush it. Don't shortcut the process because discomfort with ambiguity makes you want to announce arrival at destination before journey completes. The caterpillar doesn't emerge from chrysalis proclaiming, "I'm becoming butterfly." It remains hidden, undergoing complete dissolution, every cell breaking down before reorganizing into new form. That process requires darkness, containment, protection from predators and elements. Your silence is chrysalis. The transformation occurring within you is just as radical as caterpillar to butterfly. Cellular-level reorganization doesn't happen through willpower. It happens through surrender to process, trust in timing, faith that what's beginning unseen will emerge glorious when complete. Consider how farmers operate. They plant seeds in darkness, cover them with soil, water them without seeing growth, check daily without demanding immediate results. They understand germination requires hidden phase. The seed must break open underground. Roots must establish before shoots appear. Premature exposure to harsh sunlight kills fragile sprouts. Farmers don't dig up seeds every day announcing, "Look, it's growing." They protect growth process through patience and appropriate covering. Your silence covers your seed. The blessing planted in your account needs root system developing, new beliefs, new behaviors, new boundaries, new standards. This root system grows underground, invisible to others. Only you and God witness it. When roots establish sufficiently, abundance naturally breaks through to visible realms so powerfully that trying to hide it becomes impossible. But that time isn't now. Now is underground phase. Biblical wisdom repeatedly emphasizes this principle. Habakkuk 2.3 promises, "The vision awaits its appointed time. It hastens to the end. It will not lie. If it seems slow, wait for it. It will surely come." Appointed time isn't when you announce. It's when God reveals. Premature announcement attempts to force visibility before appointed time, which violates divine order. The universe operates on impeccable timing. Seasons don't rush. Dawn doesn't arrive before night completes its work. Fruit doesn't ripen faster because you keep checking. Everything has appointed time encoded into its essence. When you remain silent, you honor divine timing. When you announce prematurely, you try forcing manifestation to conform to your timeline rather than aligning yourself with heaven's schedule. The energetic warfare dimension cannot be overstated. When breakthrough begins manifesting, opposition intensifies. Not because you've done something wrong, but because you've done something right. Darkness always fights hardest when light is about to prevail. Your silence is strategic warfare. Ephesians 6:12 warns, "We do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age." Those principalities don't want you wealthy, not because they fear your money, but because they fear what you'll do with it. They know your abundance funds kingdom purposes. They know your prosperity enables ministry. They know your financial freedom threatens systems built on keeping people enslaved through economic anxiety. Your silence confuses the enemy. When you receive blessing and say nothing, negative forces can't track your next move. They monitor your words looking for clues about where to attack. Silence denies them intelligence. Your quietness creates strategic advantage. Military special forces operate under radio silence during critical missions precisely because communication can be intercepted. You're on Special Forces mission right now. The objective: establishing permanent abundance consciousness, creating generational wealth breakthrough, becoming financial blessing to others. The enemy wants to sabotage this mission. Your silence is operational security. But let's be clear about something crucial. This silence isn't fear-based. This isn't "don't tell anyone" or "bad things will happen." That's superstition, not spirituality. This is wisdom-based silence, rooted in understanding how manifestation completes its cycle. You're not hiding from evil eye curses. You're creating sacred container for divine work reaching completion. There's significant difference between secrecy rooted in shame and privacy rooted in wisdom. Shame says, if people knew, they'd judge me. Wisdom says, this transformation is too sacred for casual conversation. Shame contracts, wisdom protects. Your silence comes from wisdom recognizing the preciousness of what's occurring, not fear of what might happen if discovered. The human nervous system requires safety to heal and upgrade. Polyvagal theory, developed by Dr. Stephen Porges, demonstrates that our autonomic nervous system has 3 states: social engagement, ventral vagal, fight or flight, sympathetic, and shutdown, dorsal vagal. Most people living in poverty or financial stress operate chronically in sympathetic activation, constantly scanning for threats, never fully relaxing. When unexpected money arrives, it offers opportunity for nervous system to shift into ventral vagal state, the healing, growth, connection state. But that shift requires felt sense of safety. Announcing blessing introduces uncertainty. How will people react? Will they ask for money? Will relationships change? That uncertainty triggers sympathetic activation, pulling you out of healing state back into stress state. Silence maintains safety, allowing nervous system to complete its upgrade from scarcity threat programming to abundance trust programming. This neurological shift is the real blessing. The money is merely catalyst. What you're actually receiving is new baseline emotional state, new default nervous system setting, new identity structure. People who win lotteries and lose everything within years haven't lost money. They've remained in old nervous system state. Their ventral vagal nerve never established new safety baseline. Their bodies never believed abundance is normal. So their subconscious recreated familiar scarcity because nervous system equates familiar with safe, even when familiar is painful. Your silence period allows ventral vagal state to become your new normal. Your body learns, this is safe, this is home, this is who we are now. Let's examine the mirror principle operating here, because the stranger who sent you money is reflection of something within you that you've not fully recognized. In quantum field theory, the observer and observed are entangled. They don't exist as separate entities, but as interconnected aspects of unified field. That stranger appeared in your reality because something in your frequency called them forth. You attracted them through vibrational resonance. But here's the mystery. They saw in you what you haven't fully seen in yourself yet. They recognized your worthiness before you fully embodied it. They perceived your divine right to receive before your subconscious fully accepted it. This is mirror teaching you who you really are, not the struggling person you see in circumstances, the abundant person you are in essence. Every external manifestation is mirror reflecting internal reality. When you look at that money, you're not seeing strangers' generosity. You're seeing your own vibrational signature made visible. You called this forth. Your prayers, your persistence, your refusal to quit. Those were energetic broadcasts declaring, I'm ready to receive. Universe answered. Now you must let the answer reshape your self-perception. That's the real transformation. Money changes hands constantly. What rarely changes is the recipient's identity. Your silence protects your identity transformation while it's most vulnerable. Ancient mystical tradition of Kabbalah teaches about vessels, our capacity to receive divine light. The principle states that vessel must be prepared before light can fill it. Unprepared vessel shatters when light enters. Your struggles were vessel preparation. Every hardship expanded your capacity. Every dissap